fried eggs. It's what's for dinner when you're just out of other ideas.
I've been working on my summer bucket list. Oh, wait, summer is over.
I don't know, Heather. Summer here lasts another couple months. I will trade you sweltering heat for fog any day.
You got it. I have a little pet peeve called strangers spitting on the sidewalk. At least try to be discreet.
Ugh, loogies. Have such a good day. Hello, world, and welcome back to Have Such a Good Day, the show that wants you to do just that.
We like to complain about weather over here on Have Such a Good Day.
Oh, man, I can complain about just about anything.
We also try to unpack the absurdity of everyday life for your entertainment. How y'all doing? Are you sweltering hot? Are you cold in your air conditioning? We're never happy, are we? It's never the perfect temp. Where could we move that would be the perfect temperature? For me, it would be like mid 70s. So
yeah.
Santa
I say
Barbara.
mid to high 70s.
Yeah.
Yes, Santa Barbara. Let's all move to Santa Barbara.
Mass exodus.
When I get up in the morning, I tell my Amazon assistant, you know her name. I don't want to wake her up right now. And, I say good morning, and she tells me all sorts of things because it's like a thing that I've built.
Yeah.
It's like, tell me NPR, tell me BBC News, tell me the weather. And turns out the weather is really bad in lots of parts of the world right now.
Really bad. Pakistan.
Really bad.
Like it's like
Oh my
flooded.
gosh. Yeah, like a third of the country type thing.
Wow.
So, and yeah, we've got Michigan stuff in Mississippi, and stuff I'm sure I haven't even heard
And like
about
dried
yet.
up rivers, and you have the opposite too. You have like these dried up like bodies of water that's like very dire too for these communities and for farming. It's like, what is happening?
Good question. What is happening?
Let's try to unpack it on today's episode.
Yes.
Let's
I am
solve all
not
the
a
world
meteorologist. I would just like to say that off the top. But I have thoughts on meteorology.
I actually thought that would be kind of fun to be a weather woman. I've thought that over the years in television. I thought, gosh, those weather women, they really have it. They've got it. They just get to talk about weather all day. Don't have to talk about, I don't know, bigger problems and
Well, and
There's still time.
you can kind of be like, well, it was 35% chance of rain. Sorry
Yeah.
it didn't rain today. But it
Don't be
wasn't
mad at
like
me.
95%. Yeah, like I was just passing
just
it
doing my
along,
job.
Right. So this is Heather, you'll appreciate this because doing a podcast and me having been on TV for however many years, 25 years now at this point, I sometimes on various shows of mine, the group will be like, oh, let's do like a sound check, not like a let's see if your mic is working, but like let's listen to an episode, and let's all take notes, and then kind of come back together and be like, what was good, what wasn't good, you know, what would we change, how can we evolve? And I hate these. And it's not because I don't think that this is not a good exercise. I do. It's because I hate the sound of my own voice. I hate the sight of myself as well. And that's just, you just
altogether hate yourself.
Well, I actually love myself a lot, but it's when you do daily stuff, there's so much volume of that it's like, when it's over, it's over. Yeah. And I hate going back to things because I listen to things where I'm like, I actually said that really weird.
Yeah.
I could have said that so much better.
Course.
And then I kind of tear myself apart.
I do the same thing. I mean, I think most, like even actors, like I listen to a lot of interviews and most of them say they cannot watch their stuff.
Sure.
I think it's pretty normal. I mean, maybe some people are like obsessed with themselves and watch their own movies like every night, like over dinner, but
I remember Inside the Actors Studio. I used to love that show.
Yeah.
And James, now I'm forgetting his last name. I am so sorry, James, who has since left us. But I used to watch everybody that was on that show.
Yeah.
I loved that show. And one of the things that you heard over and over was an actor being like, oh, I didn't even watch the finished movie
Yeah.
that I was in, that I was like the star of.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and it was always like, well, why? Well, because my job is over, you know, and I just, you know, like everything else is cringy for me because I like did my job and I just, you know, got paid and now I've moved on to something else. That's kind of how I feel about stuff like that. But now that we're talking about sort of voices and stuff, there are certain words that I am not great at, and I don't know why. For example, the word, I'm going to say it right now because I'm thinking about it, availability, which is something that on a technology show, like my show, Daily Tech News Show, we say all the time. When something going to, you know, global availability kind of thing. And when I go too fast, I'm like, there's something
like
about like
twister.
the B and the L. It just trips me up every time.
Yeah.
And I hate it when I have to read that because I'm like, I just feel like I'm like, I don't know, like I have like marbles in my mouth or something. And so when I hear it
like
later,
the way
I'm
it
like,
rolls off your tongue.
I really don't. And I don't know if I'm the only person who notices this or not, but it's something that I dislike and I don't know how to change it. Availability. Like the more I think about it, the worse it gets.
Like when you analyze it, when you like deconstruct the word, or it's like I have the same problem with like I guess kernel, but then it's like
Colonel,
spelled
like
different.
Colonel
It's like
Sanders.
kernel.
Well,
Quinoa.
sure. Yeah. Quinoa I'm fine with.
Okay.
I do what's the one that always gets me?
Anemone.
it's-
Anemone.
Yeah, because I
That's
always
a
get the
tough
N
one.
and the M mixed
Yeah.
up. There are certain words that I always have to think about every single
Me
time
too.
I
know.
type
I'm trying to
them.
think of ones for me because I do the same thing, and I always like stop myself. I pause before I say the word moist because I don't. I also don't love that word. I know a lot of people have a really hard time with that word, so I apologize in advance. But it's like the st at the end. That's like maybe it's my Invisalign trays because I find it. I like lisp it.
Yes. Kind of spitting,
Yeah.
you know,
It's
on a stranger near you at the bus stop.
rural is my least favorite word to say.
Oh, rural.
Rural.
Yeah,
I really don't like that
You have
one.
mentioned that
Rural.
you don't like the rural. Doesn't bother me. I've talked about the fact that I really hate the word sleuth.
Yeah, I
Hate it.
like it.
And I don't even want to talk about it anymore because I just
I
I don't
thought
even like saying it. I feel like I have to brush my
I thought
teeth.
your least favorite word was smegma.
Well, smegma I don't like in concept, but sleuth,
Sleuthing.
I hate that there's an EU. I hate everything about that word. Like if this was ever a Wordle answer, I would stop thinking.
You would not. You know,
I would.
so
I would be like, you know what? That you know, it's too much. It's too much.
you guys are learning so much about us. I mean, at this point, after we're on 162 episodes, you guys kind of know like the ins and outs of our minds, our darkest secrets, our least
Heather and I are
favorite words.
a little wacky.
But we all are. I mean, that's
Yeah,
the
I mean, who
reality of it.
isn't?
Is we all have our little quirks, but at least we're having fun with our quirks. We like the absurdity of everyday life. We find it funny. We find it to be soothing.
Yeah.
And I mean, hence the show. But yeah, what are some other ones like? Gosh, I mean,
Availability. I don't know. Like I sound. I don't know. I sound like
Availability.
I have some sort of an impediment when I say that. But so I was thinking about this and thinking about okay, because I have actually been told a couple different things about, you know, just because people have been listening to me for a long time. And some people say, "Oh, you have such a great radio voice." And I go, "Oh, thanks." And other people are like, too much vocal fry. She's such a girl."
vocal
You know,
fry.
and that really hasn't happened for a long
Yeah.
time, but I've heard both sides of this. And there's not much I can do about it at this point.
You are who
Besides
you are,
just
Sarah.
try to be as eloquent as
Yeah.
possible, when describing things. But it does harken back to the first time that my family, which is, just me and my mom and my dad, way back in the day, where we got our first answering machine. And it was like, I remember what house we lived in. So it was probably like 1986-ish, something like that. It was like people were getting answer machines and we got one. And for whatever reason, and this went on for years, my parents always had the answer machine in their bedroom. Now I'm like, that's such a weird place to put like the family's answering
on the
machine.
kitchen counter or like in the hallway.
I guess I was so young at the time that they figured like, well, who's gonna like leave a message for Sarah? Or, I don't know. But even like after we moved houses and we lived in the next house for a really long time, it was always in their bedroom. That was just where the answering machine was. And but when we first got our first one, and there were a few different answering machines over the years as they got better. But the first one, they were like, no, you should do the, the you've missed us type thing. And I was like a little kid. And, and I remember doing it a couple of times and my parents were like, yeah, that was good. We're going to save that one. But you can listen back, and me being like, do I sound like that? I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate this. No, I want to do it again. And finally they were like, okay, we're not doing this all day. Like, just never mind. Sarah's
It's a weird self-actualization
fired
kind of,
up about this.
like exercise where you're like, that's me. My name is Sarah. Like it's almost like you cannot objectify yourself. Like you can't step outside of yourself and see yourself. Yeah. It's too personal. It's a weird experience.
It is. Over the years, I don't know. Then I was thinking about answering machines, and we've I don't know. Probably some people have answering machines out there, and if so, kudos to you. But most of us have kind of just moved to mobile or something that's in the cloud in general. But I do remember after many years of the answering machine being in my parents' bedroom, and once I got into like high school, you're starting to get friends that are calling you really late, and my parents were just mad about that all the time.
Like after 9:30 or something.
Why are your friends calling you so late? Where I'm like, can you just like turn off the ringer in your bedroom so that you can just sleep? But they're like, yeah, but if we don't answer and you're not around, then the answering machine goes on.
You're like,
So
put
I'm
the
like,
answering machine in the other
oh my-
room.
Yeah, like put the answering machine in a common area, or better yet, give me my own phone line, which is what I've been asking for like 9 years. They eventually did it because they were just like, we can't handle
exactly.
your friends
Like
anymore.
a teenager yakking on the phone. Like, I mean, that was
Totally,
definitely a
yeah.
yacker.
Yeah, I think it took me down memory lane a little bit.
I like it.
Thinking about, these words that I have hard times with for no good reason, and just kind of like that sort of audio thing that we've all been doing for a long time, that it has evolved so much.
Yeah, it's funny too, because there's a lot of these words. I thought of a few more that bug me, that are pretty much, you say them regularly. Regularly is kind of one of them. Yeah, it's like you can't, your mouth, it's everybody's different, I guess. Like, for example, when I was a kid, I couldn't even say my own name. I apparently called myself Heather, because it was like the Heather, like I couldn't do it. And my aunt, I believe I've told this story on the show before. My Aunt Catherine, that's my middle name. I'm named after her. But we call her Kitty, Aunt Kitty. But I called her Aunt Titty when I was pretty young because I couldn't say the K. And I'd be like, I'm Hedu. And so now, like, my uncles and my dad and everybody in the family calls me or called me Hedo, because that's what I called myself. So I feel like maybe I had a little bit of a speech impediment. I think kids do, and you mostly grow out of it. But I don't like the word. I remember the one that I was thinking right off the bat is asterisk. I think it's the sk, like the two consonants.
Which is funny because your last name ends with a K.
Yeah, but that's Frank. That like rolls off the tongue easier. But
That's easy.
Sk.
Yeah.
Sk.
Asterisk.
Yeah.
Asterisk.
But it's funny too, because like even in like learning a second language, like learning French, nobody could pronounce my name in France. Like it was very difficult for them because H and TH are combinations that they do not have in their language. And it became it like
So
it
it
dropped.
turns into a Z
it's
type thing.
And it's so hard for them. I've even like tried to like work with them on it. It's very difficult. It's like it's kind of ironic that like I think that my name is one of the most difficult names for French people. But yeah, no, words are fun. I mean, it's funny because I was just talking to my sister about, she said something really funny this morning, like I like the combo words I don't know, like lollygag, or just kind of like a fun, like there's a little bit of an onomatopoeia
What
to
is
it.
the combo of lollygag?
No, I mean like that isn't even the right example, but there's two words that go together that kind of rhyme. So like
I see.
like God, I'm totally blanking on one that I use all the time. But there's a bunch of them. They're very funny. And just on the opposite side of the spectrum, it's like the words that you love the way they roll off your tongue and you just enjoy saying them, and you say them probably more than you should because you just like it. You like the way it feels. I got lots of those.
I definitely have. I don't know that I would say the word extravaganza all that often. I mean, if there was one, I would be happy to use it. One of my favorite words. Mm-hmm. Why? I don't know. I just like it. It is a pleasant word to me. And maybe it's because it's like, I mean, you could have like a bad extravaganza, but like most of the time you're like, ooh, extravaganza. How fancy.
Yeah. It's an extravagant
We're extravagant. Word. Yeah. And so, yeah.
That's a good one.
I have words in my list that I find, it's a little ASMR going on here.
Oh, total ASMR. I love
availability is not one of them.
I like the word knucklehead. And on the same note, I like the word chucklehead. I don't know. It's something about there's a little onomatopoeia there too, because it's like it kind of sounds like who that is, like a knucklehead. Like to me, it just works really well with the definition of it. Like a nincompoop, like, gobbledygook, or I don't know, whippersnapper. Like I like those that have there's humor to them, I guess. There's like comic relief. Anyway.
Yeah, they're just kind of fun words.
They are fun.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so anyway, I've been thinking about words that are weird. I've been thinking about words that are weird my entire life, but
Join the club.
I did go back to, I even had like the strangest dream last night, and I won't go into it because, dreams are dreams, whatever. Nobody wants to hear about other people's dreams, but this woman who is a participant on Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Oh, of course you joked about that.
Yeah, Kenya Moore, who's kind of like, she's sort of known for like fighting with everybody. Mm-hmm. She's sort of an instigator, right? She was in my dream. I was at her house, and she was like, I have to tell you something, Sarah, and I don't know how you're going to take it. And I was like, all right, well, just tell me. And she said, me and Bill Murray are in love.
Oh my goodness. Do you have a crush on Bill Murray?
And I was like, Bill Murray, like, I don't have a crush on Bill Murray. I like him very much as an actor, but like I haven't seen him in a movie recently. It's not something that has like, crossed my plate in any way. But in the dream, I was like, wow, okay, so this is kind of an interesting coupling, like how serious you guys. Mm-hmm. We had this whole conversation about it, and the whole time, my point, and I do have one, is that the whole time she was talking to me in this sort of weird drawl that is not actually how she talks in real life, because she's on a reality show. So let's just call the reality show real life. Style? No, it wasn't that. It was like an accent that just she doesn't have otherwise. Okay. So I was like, I mean, did Bill Murray like make you talk this way? Like it was like just a weird dream. Bill Murray like never showed up in the dream. She was just telling me the story. Like Bill Murray and we're pretty serious.
Talk about talk about gobbledygook in our brains. I swear, it is so weird, and it is weird.
Yeah, I woke up and I tried to like, I'm usually just too tired and lazy to do it, but I have a little journal thing. every so often where I wake up and I'm like, that was really vivid.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm going to lose all the
Of
details
course.
later. You know, you write them down, even if, you know, it's like chicken
I used to
scratch,
do
kind
that
of,
religiously.
shorthand stuff.
Yeah.
I don't really do it all that often
Me
anymore, but
neither.
I did do that
You
this
did?
morning because I was like, that was just, I mean, I don't know what kind of dreams I'm supposed to like glean information from.
Yeah, like
This is one of
what
those where
is
it was just
yeah, what
weird.
is meaning? What because sometimes I'll have these really meaningful dreams that are kind of seemingly symbolic, and then other times it's that gobbledygook. It's like what? Why would I dream about Bill Murray? And like, and that is a weird combination. It's just a bunch of crap that's just being processed at the same time, like as you sleep.
And at the same time, though, it's like there's so much of like, I don't know, I'm not a dream expert, but so much of like
Oh
subconscious
yeah,
that it just sort of like, oh, Bill Murray may have like been in some screenshot of something I saw on the internet
yeah,
and just got in my head
yeah,
enough
exactly.
to make an appearance later, in some weird way that made no sense to me. Even in the dream, I was like, this doesn't make a lot of sense, but
Yeah.
okay, I'm happy for you guys.
Disclaimer, we are not weather women. We are not dream experts. We're just two little ladies that like to talk about the absurdity of life. Isn't that
It's
good
true.
enough?
It's true. I don't know. So Heather, how's things been?
Oh gosh, well, just trying to stay above water, Sarah. There's a lot going on this summer. It's just been, I feel like, kind of a broken record, honestly. I don't know what it is. It's just like, I think because I'm managing a big business and there's a lot of stuff going on around me, and I'm sort of this businessy type that solves problems and makes stuff happen. And so a lot of things fall on me, which is fine. Most of the time I can handle it, but if I'm like I'm tired one day or I'm busy or I like to take a break and I can't, I get cranky. But yeah, I'm just like tackling things like right and left. I'm just like that, like, Uma Thurman in the room with all the ninjas, just like tackling all these problems, and it just gets exhausting sometimes. Like,
And killing them,
yeah, maybe not killing them, but solving
taking
them.
their heads off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm just like, everybody, and I'll get into more of that later in the show, but I wanted to mention that, we complain about the weather. I totally am one that does that lately, especially because I moved from a very warm place in the desert to basically a rainforest in the Pacific Northwest. And I don't know what I expect. I mean, when we have sunny days, which we have a fair amount, they're so spectacular. They're extravagant, to use Sarah's favorite word. And I
They're an
they're an
extravaganza. Is what they
extravaganza, let
are.
me tell you. It's just like the
Yeah.
hills are alive and it's a whole thing. But there's some marine layer. There's like, I'm on the ocean. There's fog, and like I mentioned in a previous show this month, it's been a bit of a fogust. And then also, I don't have kids, but like everybody's kids, people, I know a lot of people with kids. I have a lot of kids that are close to me. They're going back to school. It's back to school week or whatever. And within the last few weeks, most of the kids have gone back to school. Even though I don't have kids, it's like, it still affects me because I'm like, oh yeah, so summer's over. Like summer is coming to a close.
Well, and it affects your friends' schedule.
Well, it does, but it also is a
And,
marker in
there's all
time
that.
where you're like, well, summer's over. And
Yeah,
everyone's
yeah.
kind of talking about like this looming end of summer. It's almost September kind of thing. And I guess I feel a little cheated. And I know in a way I'm really lucky because hello, no forest fires. But it was just like all of these things that I was going to do this summer, it's like this and this. I can't even remember all of it. It's probably on a list somewhere, but I was going to get an easel and I was going to paint outside and I was going to drive east to the river. I was going to drive up to the coast, the Oregon coast. I was going to write that screenplay, and when I was a kid, speaking of feeling nostalgic, Sarah, I remember like summers were like painfully long, like I remember playing millions of card games and like Uno over and over, like Chutes and Ladders, like Candyland. I mean, I played every game. And it just dragged on. And I remember thinking, I mean, I don't think we went to camp here and there, I don't think either of us were that into camp. I think the first time I went to camp, I got poison oak, and I was like, ugh, camp sucks.
Oh, I used to go to camp every summer when I was
I would go to
young.
like
I
soccer
mean,
camp and like sports camp, but I remember one time in particular going to like camp that was like in a forest with like, like not tents, but like these little, like it was like real camp. Yeah,
cabins.
cabins. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel a little cheated. I have not had the longest summer that I would like. Time is flying. We're almost at September. I mean, I just can't keep up. So I want to hear from you guys. Are you all ready for summer to be over? Because I know a lot of people who are. They're tired of the heat. They're tired of the pressure of making a perfect endless summer. Email us at hi@havesuchagoodday.com.
Summer used to be back in my day, Heather. So summer was like, yeah, from I don't know, June 1st through the day after Labor Day. There's no school.
Yeah.
You're just running
Yeah.
wild. My parents both worked, and I lived in the country, so like I couldn't walk to town, and I couldn't be left alone, so I had to go to YMCA camp.
Oh, I did that too.
And yeah, like like every day, like drop me off in the morning. My mom comes and gets me, when she gets off work, in the evening. And every year I was like, I don't want to go. I just don't like. Can't I just like stay home? Because I knew some friends who were like more latchkey kids, where like they could just like hang out and watch MTV
Oh, that was
all
me.
day.
That was me.
So that was not me. First of all, we didn't have MTV until I was like a senior in high school because we had no cable. But no, like I had to go somewhere. And also, I think that they were like, she's a kid, you're gonna run around with other kids all day. There was a pool, like a municipal city pool,
Yeah.
that we'd go to like every afternoon. I mean. You don't know how tan this girl was when she was
Me
young.
too.
I mean, I was the tannest kid ever, and it was fun. But every year I'd be like, I want to do it. I just want to like be more adult, because it always represented like, oh, I have to go somewhere.
Sarah's a kid
because
and she needs to be
because I can't just
supervised.
sort of like sit around eating snacks alone by myself, which is funny because now I'm like. Well, I like eating snacks alone by
You
myself.
do,
but
actually. That's one of your favorite things
I-
to do.
It really is.
Truly.
But I also like the idea of camp. I'm like, oh, that sounds fun. Crafts.
Yeah, you and your
We did all
crafts.
sorts of fun stuff. We played Uno all day and like, shoved each other into like the pond. It was fun.
Totally.
It's kid stuff.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, gosh, yeah, those days seem pretty far away. But I think part of it too is that, because my view is the ocean, which I should never complain about because it's always beautiful. But it's been so many days in a row where the sky just blends with the ocean because, it's a reflection of the sky. The ocean often reflects. And so when it's at least partly cloudy, the ocean can be this incredible range of blues and greens, and it's awesome. It changes everything, It's like the light and the shadows, it just changes everything. So I guess I just missed that a little bit, but you can't win them all, Sarah. And I feel lucky enough to be on the cliff of the ocean here, but it's not like I'm going to have like some, extravaganza day every single day of the week. I mean, what do I expect?
Well, nobody's going to
No,
have that.
of course not.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you. It's it's funny. I am one of the people who works on this property here pretty regularly. She and I were talking this morning, and I was like, "Girl, did you see how hot it's gonna get this weekend? Because it's
supposed to be in the
like
hundreds,
we're
right?
like in like an excessive heat warning.
Yeah,
yeah,
shoot.
yeah. It's gonna be in the hundreds through Labor Day. Yay! And this is heat where I'm like, all right, well, Otis and I have to get up really early and do our thing. And I have to run him out because he's going to be kind of stuck inside the rest of the time until like the sun goes down. Like it's dangerous for him.
For his feet too.
We can't.
His paws.
Oh God, the feet, even in the shade.
Yeah.
Not, in that heat, he's just like, you see him like panting and I'm like, ugh, okay, we can't do this. Like, I feel like I need to like give you a cold bath or something. But yeah, it's easy to complain about stuff, and then winter comes around, or I'm like, oh, it's dark.
I know. That's the thing. It's
You
like,
know,
that's why,
like,
I guess that's why I'm like,
it's like,
I'm not exhausted of the summer heat because, I had some trips to LA and I've gotten plenty of sun, but it's like, I don't want to go from this to like winter time because that would just be too, it would be like, wow, I have to wait all the way to like spring to get more sunny weather. But that's not true because September and October are notoriously like some of the best months up here because it's like an Indian summer and we usually have really warm days. And I think part of it too is we're kind of suffering from there are fires inland. We don't really have smoky sky, but then there's so much heat not that far from here, which I should just get in the car and drive about 10 minutes and I'll get to some heat, but I just don't do that. But there's so much heat inland that we end up getting more fog because it's just the way it is.
sure.
So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a river not that far from here that people go to that have like little houses and cabins out there and go in the river because it's boiling hot. It's like super nice, like summer weather. And have we
It's
gone?
probably
No.
not unlike the Russian River
Yeah,
where I live.
it's very similar.
Same idea. Like it's hot as
Yeah.
shit. And these cabins are not well insulated.
Exactly.
But you have a lot of waterways. You can have a lot of fun, go to the beach, do your thing.
I know I think the problem is too, is that, yeah, we're just busy working and doing stuff that we haven't been adventuring around. I mean, we did go on a little adventure. I was telling the Discorders over the weekend and I sadly didn't really get any photographs. I promised some, but I did get one video only because my boyfriend is like a videographer, and he's always taking stuff, but it was adventurous, let me tell you. We got home that night and we were pretty wiped out because I think we're not as in shape for long because there's great hiking up here. I mean, the outdoors up here is phenomenal and like you can explore forever and never go everywhere. But we thought, oh, this is so great. We're going somewhere new and we're doing something different. And it was really fun. We did have a great time, but it was physically exhausting. But we have to do more of that. I mean, it's kind of sad that we haven't gone up north. Like we live 3 hours south of the Oregon border. Elijah's never been to Portland. Like there's all these things and places that we could explore, but we're just busy. We're busy people.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it'll change at some point. We'll have a chance. Meanwhile, I want to get a dog, which actually completely contradicts my idea of being out of town. So yeah, we'll see.
Well, you bring the dog.
Exactly.
If you're doing outdoorsy stuff. But no, I have the same predicament where even today, a friend of mine who I knew in San Francisco some years ago, she now lives in San Diego. I haven't seen her in a really long time. She has a kid now. Like some time has passed.
Yeah.
And she is doing some work up in the Bay Area every so often. And she'll always ping me like, girl, can we have dinner? I'm staying, at this hotel in the city kind of thing. The city being San Francisco. And, I always, at first, I'm like, oh, that sounds so fun. Yeah, I could probably swing that in 5 days. And then the day comes and I'm like, I can't do it.
That's what happens to
You know?
me. I know.
And it's not because I don't want
I
to. It's
know.
because, I mean, for example, this was supposed to be today. And it's like, well, we're recording our podcast. And then after we finish that, I have to do like other like various errand things. And then I'm going to like drive to San Francisco in the dark and drive
No,
back
see, that's how I feel.
really late.
Yeah.
It's just, it's like
The nighttime
man.
thing, I think if you're not in a city, I think that's the problem I have. Because, like, I mean, I used to get out and about at night a lot. But when you're coming from kind of deeper in the country and then it takes you a little bit longer to it's like there's a lack of motivation because it's dark. If you're already in the city, just jump in an Uber and like go down the street or whatever. It's just not like that here.
Yeah.
And
which is one of the reasons that I love my adventure walks around where I live. I mean, it's beautiful. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I will often come back from something, especially in the morning, and be like, oh, I just got back from a hike, and people are like, you went on a hike this morning on like a Tuesday? Where I'm like, well, but my neighborhood is one big hill. So, I mean, yeah, it was a hike. I don't have any other option. Like, I can't actually really go very far without it being a hill,
Yeah.
which is nice. But the urban fun landscape of this is something I miss a
Oh
lot.
yeah, for sure.
I miss it a lot. And, you know, TBD. TBD. No one's going to do anything crazy today.
No, but like it's funny because when I was down in LA recently, I went through Echo Park and kind of the back side of it where it's like all hilly and stuff. This is an enclave of like East LA. And you know, we both lived there when we were doing the show on camera.
Oh, it was my favorite thing.
Yeah, but
Loved it.
you have to know, it's funny because there's always trade-offs and we forget what it is about that place that is a trade-off. And it's like because the climate has changed and everywhere's hotter, that's kind of like a hotter climate. It's like it's hard to live in Echo Park without having a pool. Like it's just so hot now. And a friend of mine made that point. I'm like, that's a good point. You know, like because I saw like there was like a little house for sale and it was like kind of funky and I was just sort of curious. I'm like, what would this house go for? Doesn't have a pool. I don't think you want to live in this neighborhood without a pool.
Oh, girl. I mean, don't even talk to me about
Oh,
pools.
that's true. Forgot about
Pools
that.
are the biggest money pit you could ever invest in. Now, I know there are a lot of pool lovers out there. I am not a pool hater. I am a pool adjacent person. I like being on the side of a pool under an umbrella where I'm not going to get sunburned.
Eating your snacks.
I might dip in, yeah, snacks, of course, always. Might dip in, all good. But knowing what goes into maintaining a pool, it's such a headache.
I know. I hear from my
So
friends.
like the idea of like living in Echo Park without a pool, I'd be like, well, if you have AC,
Yeah.
you're fine. And then you don't have to like pay somebody to maintain this damn pool all the time.
Totally. Well, there's always
But
going to
anyway,
be there's
they're
going
all
to be
different.
pain points wherever you go. So and it's easy to forget about the pain points that existed in a previous life. I know it is for me because I'm like, oh my gosh, that was like the perfect place to live. But then you forget like, oh, actually this was kind of difficult. The traffic, the blah, blah, blah. Anyway.
Totally. Yeah, well, listen, Heather, I real quick, this doesn't have to be a long conversation, but I was thinking about, you know, as I do, about technology news. And one of the things that I thought might be interesting for the people who listen to our show is this idea that Twitter has rolled out recently called Twitter Circles. Now, caveat, I don't use anything official Twitter. I use a third-party app called Tweetbot. So this is actually not something that I can use. I kind of stay off like real Twitter by design for my own reasons. But the idea of Twitter Circles is kind of like Instagram close friends, you know, or that old app Path, you know, where it was like,
I remember that.
This isn't for everybody. It's just for like a close group of friends that you feel, you know, or colleagues, you know, or you know, whoever this curated list of people are that you've identified, that you feel like, well, this tweet is for them, not for everybody. And that's different than saying like, well, I just have a private account, which a lot of people do. And I think a lot of people do for this exact reason. And Twitter would like you to share more, you know, with trusted people instead of saying, well, I can't trust anybody, so I just have, you know, a lockdown account. So if I were to create a circle and I had you and everybody in our Discord in that circle, then it would be targeted towards people who kind of care about what I'm about to say anyway.
Yeah, totally.
So it's not so much about privacy, although it is, but it's more about like knowing your audience a little bit.
Sure.
Because I think, you know, I think we've all, particularly me, like there have been, I mean, I'm a very strange tweeter. I mean, I'm all over the place. But, you know, there are certain things where I'm like, well, that landed better than I thought it would. And others where I'm like, nobody cared about that one. And, you know, maybe it's because, you know, I'm tweeting out into the abyss rather than, you know, to kind of like, it's marketing, right? This whole idea of sort of curating who your audience is on Twitter is going to be helpful to people who have a lot of followers and follow a lot of people. But even if you don't, you still might say, I'm just going to use this, you, Heather, I'm going to use this to like send Sarah and a few other people this really cute photo of the hike I took this weekend. But I don't really want it to be like on the internet.
Yeah.
And again, we're talking about Twitter. Maybe this would even be better served on Instagram because they've already been doing this for some time. But I don't know. I feel like it's a little too late.
Well, also
for Twitter stuff, because I'm like, I just don't think about curating things on Twitter.
No.
I'm like, you like me or you
And
don't.
also, how is it different from like just start like a Slack channel or a message group? Like a text message.
Well, it
group?
isn't. It's Twitter saying, but you could do that here too. So I think that some people use Twitter pretty much all day.
Oh,
every
sure,
day.
yeah.
This is their network,
Yeah,
right?
That makes sense.
So if that's you, this might be like, yes, great feature. I've been waiting for it, but it just kind of, even on Instagram or Facebook or I'm trying to think of situations, but beyond a group text where I'd be like, okay, I've got this, I really want to share something with this smaller group of people, not everybody. And, and now I have the tools to do so. That does not happen to me very often.
No, what I think it stands out for me is that, on Twitter, yeah, sure, you might have a, group text or a group Slack with your close friends or like, some of your close acquaintances or whatever the group has sort of maybe there's a theme. And with the Twitter thing, you're following people that you've never met in real life or like that are maybe people you admire. I mean, can you put anyone in your Twitter circle? They have to agree to be in your circle, right? Like,
no, you can add them to your circle and they don't have to agree.
Oh.
They can get out of there. But I don't know.
Interesting.
The whole thing is, it's just, I don't know. There's this whole evolution, and I'm thinking, I'm speaking very broadly. This whole evolution of people being like, all right, how do we really decentralize all this stuff?
Yeah.
And Twitter is not a decentralized company at all. Very much not so. But I feel like there are these tools that keep getting introduced that are getting us closer to what other people want. You might be like, I don't know, you're a celebrity, you have 5 million followers. Like you are probably not going to do a lot of Twitter circles, or maybe you are. They can still screenshot it though, and then share it with the world, and then you're effed.
yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. Some of these tools, I'm like, interesting. I see what the company's going for, but I don't know who it's for exactly. If it's for you, let us know.
Yeah, maybe some of our
because
audience
everybody's different.
has already been deep in the Twitter circles. Let us know. hi@havesuchagoodday.com.
Indeed, Heather Frank. Hedu.
I shouldn't have told the world this information. Someone's gonna use it against me.
It's all right. I couldn't say yellow for a long time.
Yeah, I had problems
Like
with
way
stuff like that.
after, like I was like old enough to know better. I couldn't say it.
Yeah, there's something to the fact that I don't like two hard consonants together because I remember like helicopter was hard for me to pronounce. I was like helicopter, like blah, like I don't even know how I said it, but that was another word that I hacked as a kid. I have to talk to my sister because she's got some stories. But
one of the things, okay, I'm just gonna say this and then we're gonna move on because we got to wrap up this noise. Yeah, but it's and I think this happens. It happens more when people take each other's surname, when they're married.
Yeah.
But they're, like if your first name ends with a vowel and your last name starts with one. Sometimes it can be a little like,
Yeah, like
Oh,
what's an
okay.
example?
Well, I mean, I have examples, but I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
yeah, yeah,
shout
of course.
anybody out because whatever. But like, I don't know, like, so okay, so for example, my last name ends with an H, but phonetically, it's
You mean
Sarah, ends with an A.
your
Or
first name?
my
I'm like, wait,
yes,
Lane? No.
the last letter of my
Yes.
first name. Um, so Sarah, so it ends with a vowel, when you're hearing it. So if my last name was Adams, I'm pulling this out of thin
Yeah,
air
yeah.
here. Sarah Adams. It's like it
It
works,
doesn't flow as
but you
well
kind
as
of
Sarah
want
Lane.
like it would be like if I don't know if my name was like Sarah Adams. That sounds better to me than the two vowels
I know
together.
what you mean. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Well, I think in some
Sarah.
way I
Okay.
think in some
All
ways I
right.
do stumble on my last name, Heather Frank. Like it's Frank, like I think because it has one vowel and it just feels so consonant heavy. And maybe it's my Invisalign talking, I don't know, which I'm almost finished with. I'm so pumped. But that's for another show. Anyway, Sarah, if you'd like to join
Yes.
our Discord,
You can do so by becoming a patron. You might say, okay, sounds great. Where do I do that? Patreon.com/have such a good day is where you can find out more about your options there. We do have a Discord. It is really fun. Our Discord folks are the bomb. You know who you are. And if you can part with $5 a month or anything more, then Discord
you're
is
in.
at your disposal. We also, we love getting feedback. Every show we say, if you have feedback for us, please send it our way. hi@havesuchagoodday.com. And we got a real nice one from Ron, who is a new patron.
Yep.
So
Hey, Ron.
thank you, Ron.
Woo, woo.
Thank you, Ron. Good to have you. Ron said, hi, SNH. That's us. And everyone else. I've been leeching off your free stuff for a couple of months now, so I figure I ought to at least be a Coast Guard supporter. I really enjoy the relaxed back and forth of the two hosts. That's us.
As two little relaxed ladies.
Yeah, I know.
Thanks,
Like,
Ron. It's really great to hear from you.
That's really nice, Ron. And Ron, you bring up a good point. You may be listening to the show being like, well, I don't pay anything. And like, what am I missing? Nothing. You get the show. You're probably going to hear ads.
Yeah,
That's,
exactly.
I
don't personally like ads. I mean,
Yeah.
it depends. There's certain hosts who they don't run ads like as sort of robotic ads in between like commercial breaks. But like there are some podcasts that incorporate ads within the show, and those can also be frustrating because that it's like they're trying to be clever about incorporating it into a story or whatever. But then I always like try to fast forward and so I'm not a fan. I usually like to pay for all my platforms. I pay for the ad free version because I'm weird like that. But to each his own,
and
her own.
100%. And if the free version works for you, great.
Yeah.
We're so glad to have
Exactly.
you. Tell a friend. That's all you have to do. If you can directly support us, all the merrier. And, you get some perks in the meantime. I also want to quickly shout out my own mother, who is my biggest fan and always has been. Heather, I don't even know that she listens to the show. So, Mom,
She used to.
if you are listening, I want to hear from you. Well, I'm just not sure that she's doing it every week because there's so many other things that I do that she listens to. And she's also a busy lady. But
And she's
she
a
did give us
busy
little
wordler
raise.
too. She's big on the
She's a busy
Wordle.
wordler.
Linnell, we love you. I love the idea of you that you're still listening after all these years. I remember the
I
day when
know.
we hung out in person, and I remember those days fondly. Hopefully, I'll see you very soon. IRL.
Indeed. Yeah, I've got a good mom. I really do. She's my jam.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's all I have to say about that right now. But Heather, I think what we can say is that episode 162 was pretty fucking fun.
It was an extravaganza, Sarah.
It was an
It
extravaganza.
was a little bit of gobbledygook, but it was mostly an extravaganza.
With a lot of availability.
So much availability from our rural.
I hate it. The more I say it, the worse I am at it. I hate that word.
Well, maybe you can. Is there a
Availability.
synonym for that word that you can just like tell your co-host, like, don't make me say that word.
I mean, sure. I'm sure I can. I can write myself out of anything, but I just often am
It's
like,
kind of a common word, especially with like the Airbnb thing too. It's like you just find yourself saying it a lot. There isn't really a synonym.
it's a word that comes up a lot in life,
I feel
especially
you.
Yeah, when you're
I'm not a
talking
big fan
about
either.
things be available.
That's fine.
I can deal with that.
Availability.
But it's availability.
How about hillbilly? Can you say hillbilly?
Hillbilly.
It's kind of
I
fun.
have no
I
problem.
kind of like saying that word.
Yeah. There's a little too much. I don't know. I mean, honestly, like if I tried to unpack this too much, it might get weird.
let us know out there if you have some
Available.
not favorite words that you just do not like to pronounce. Please email us at have such a good day. And in the meantime, I will remain Heather.
You sure will. And I will remain Sarah, and we will be back for episode 163 next week. Until then, have such a good day.